All right, Mark here again, cooking books, bringing info. So I put this video up, and a few of my buddies called me and said, "Yo, you ain't tell us how to cut the cord, though, man. We watched the video, but we ain't see how to cut the cord. You ain't see how to cut the cord." So, and someone wrote on here, like, "Yeah, just tell me how to cut the cord." So, my bad, y'all. You're right. I went back and watched the video, and the video I named it cord cutting, and I didn't tell y'all how to cut the cord. So let's go over recap real quick and talk about cutting the cord. So again, my artistic work right here. Like I said, I wasn't famously known as an artist in school or anything, so this is my little, you know what I mean? It's the best I can do. But anywho, so you see the girl right here? You see that's how fellas, y'all like them just like that, right? Yeah, that's the girl, that's the guy. All right, so peep this. Again, the last video is called Cutting Chords, Etheric Chords. I really want to go into a little bit more details. Etheric chords and soul ties, right? And again, the Bible calls soul ties one flesh. The two shall become one. And the etheric chords are what allow two to become one. Because in chemistry, right? Because human beings, right? All of us are chemical creatures. We're biochemical, bioelectrical creatures. If you study the periodic table, you learn about like how atoms bond to make molecules. It's a bonding called covalent bonding, ionic bonding, and for water it's called hydrogen bonding. But the same principles that atoms use to bond, it's the same principles that you and I use. Like we as humans, it's the same. I mean, it's amazing when I study this stuff and I research it. I'm like, wow, it's interesting, very interesting. The same way atoms form molecules, the same principles that they use to bond are the same things we use. And the reason it makes sense is because we're made out of atoms anyway, so it's consistent. But anyhow, so the etheric chords are the actual mechanisms that allows for soul ties. And soul ties is a derivation of one flesh. Again, soul ties is a derivation of one flesh. Etheric chords or ethereal chords are the mechanisms that are used to formulate soul ties, right? So we got that. Okay, good. And if you guys notice right here, this cord, you notice how thick and black that cord is? The reason why I made that cord really thick and black, there's a method to the madness. The reason why I did that is that cord, notice it's at his umbilical cord, right? It's by his belly button. I don't know if you guys can notice that. I put it by his belly button, and this one is by her solar plex area, right? And the reason why that cord is so thick, because that cord represents a sexual energy, right? When you notice that she got a smile on her face. Look, she's smiling, and he's sad. Right? He all, fellas, when they leave us, right? When a woman break up with us, when they leave us, we disheveled. You know what I'm saying? We be disheveled. I've been there, so I know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? So this cord is thick on purpose because that cord, if you study the 7 chakras, the sacral chakra is right below or right around your navel area. And I made a video where I talked about the belly button. And you guys, if you haven't watched it, go and check it out. It's a really good video. The navel is so important because we have several chakras, right? And our hands, left and right hands, our left hand is a transmitter of energy. Our right hand is a receiver. Depending on which source you're studying and researching, some have it as right, others have it as left. But either way, the moral is there's certain parts on our bodies that are considered ports of entry. Now, a lot of people think your mind is the most potent port of entry. It is. It's very, very potent port of entry. It's very potent port of entry. That's why the Bible tells you to guard it. It says guard your heart, but the heart doesn't mean your literal heart. It means your soul, your whole being. But understand this: if not right up there with the mind, or right beneath, or right above, is your navel. Your belly button is a very potent port of entry. And I did a video on it and I told you why. Because that's the first place a baby is introduced to the outside world when it's in its mother's stomach. It's the first port of entry, the first access, first engagement, first interaction you and I have during our trimester, during the 9-month trimester, the 3 trimesters, right? Because the food is coming from outside. The noise, everything, the emotions that the mother feels, everything that the mother feels is coming from the outer world, and it's where's the first place it's received? In the baby's navel, right? So your navel, even though the physical umbilical cord is cut, that port of entry is always open In the astral plane, which means the spiritual plane, in the invisible plane. Your navel is always open. So even though biologically and physically it closes and you have the little belly button there or whatever, it's always open in the spiritual plane. So that's why it's so important to make sure you guard that area of your body. So that's why if you see my little drawing here, I got her solar plex area is to his navel. And this line represents the sexual cord. If you see, I wrote sexual on there. You probably can't see it, but I wrote sexual on there because, and you notice that's the thickest cord. Because when you break up with a woman, fellas, that cord, the sexual energy, is the strongest of all the cords. I got one up here that says mental, the mental cord. I wrote mental on there. Then I have one here, emotional, right? In the middle, the heart area, that's the emotional chakra area, right? But you're like in terms of like your sexual energies and stuff, you know, it's in the belly button around the sacral chakra, second chakra, which is the sacral chakra area, and it's around your navel. That's not a coincidence, right? That's a point of entry that's very, very powerful. So that's why that cord right there is so thick because it's called that cord. There's a term for it. It's called the gross etheric cords. Yeah, they're called gross etheric cords. Gross means dense, density, right? So they're condensed, they're thick, they're very compact, crowded. You can actually measure it. It's mass divided by volume gives you the density of any object. Right now, I'm going into like some wonky stuff. We're not going to go there. But so there's density. There's a tremendous amount of density, or what's called gross density, around that cord. Because for most, not all, but most people, the sexual energy is the strongest drive there is. It's a hunger drive, food drive, sex drive. Sex drive is one of the most powerful drives there is. So that's when you break up with someone, the sex energy is the strongest and hardest cord to break. That's why a lot of people fall back into these relationships where it becomes just a sexual thing or whatever, because that cord is very, very difficult to break. The mental, the emotional, all the other cords, they're more malleable. This one is completely, there's a density there. There's an extreme density. So that's why that cord is so really thick. So like I said, this video is to talk about how to cut the cords. So how you cut the cords, right? Because I already did a video about this, so I don't want to go all over it again. But here's how you cut the cords. First of all, you got to understand this. This is the first thing. People will tell you, like, stay away from the person. That's not going to cut the cord. That's not going to, staying away from the person doesn't cut the cord. Here's why. I'm going to give you guys some real science right now. In the etheric plane, in the ethereal plane, right? The etheric plane, your body has 7 colors that radiates or emanates off of your body. It's called your aura. Your aura is a composition of 7 colors. Those 7 colors coordinate with the 7 colors in the visible light spectrum, frequencies. Those 7 colors, it's, if you could see it, it's 1, 2, 3, it's superimposed one on top of the other. The etheric, your etheric body is the first layer of the 7 colors. It's the closest to your physical body without touching your physical. It connects your physical body to higher bodies in the celestial realms, or in the casual planes, or in the spiritual planes. Here's why staying away from the person means absolutely nothing. They'll tell you, oh, don't call, what is it? Do a 30-day or 40-day, don't call them. You know, don't, look, it means nothing. Here's why. You ready? In the ethereal realm, which the ethereal realm, it's still within the 3rd dimension, but almost like borderline, because the ethereal realm is between the physical plane and the astral plane. So it's right in between. It's a go-between between the physical, where we reside, and the astral, right? And the etheric is between that. But here's the thing. In the ethereal plane, space and time loses its importance, prominence, dominance, its power. In other words, in 3-dimensional existence, space and time, we are limited by space and time. We're constricted by space and time. In the ethereal and astral, when you start going to these other realms, space and time has no say-so. Space and time means nothing in these other realms, right? Thoughts can be created immediately. If I think of a chair and I want to manifest a chair manifests immediately in these other realms. There's no space, there's no time. There's no There's no solidity. I could literally walk through a wall in these other realms. So this space, distance, and time, there is none of that in the ethereal, right? And when these are called etheric cords, not physical cords. Physical cords is subjected to space and time. Ethereal cords is not subjected to space and time. So therefore, if the person is in another state and you're in the state, it doesn't matter because your cords distance does not have any influence when it comes to the ethereal cords because the ethereal cords are not subject to the limitations of space, time, and or distance. I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. There is no space, time, and or distance in the other dimensions, in the other realms. Only in our three-dimensional realms, space and time and distance have relevance. But in these other realms, it means nothing. So I can move thousands of miles away from you. The ethereal cords it would be as if I'm still in the same room with you. I could move to Japan and you could be right here in New York. If the ethereal cords are still strong and in place, it's as if I'm in the same room with you. There is no time and space in these other dimensions as we know it in our realm. So that's why distance and distancing yourself from someone, that's not going to cut the cord. That's not going to break the cords, folks. That's not going to cut the ethereal cords. All right. So get that out of your mind. Not calling the person, changing your number, not texting, not emailing, whatever. All of that. Here's why none of that'll work too. That's all physical stuff you're doing. What do you guys? That's all physical. Change your phone number. Physical. Stay away from them. Physical. Everything you're doing is physical. The etheric cords are not physical. So you can't fight non-physical with physical. You can't overpower non-substance with substance. You can't defeat immaterial with material. I think you guys see where I'm going. So I'm leading you into this. So how you cut the one more thing. Here's the thing. The etheric cords are in essence, they're thoughts, right? They're thoughts. Thoughts that have been established or inveterated. I like that word. In thoughts that have been inveterated, which means established over a long period of time. You're dating someone for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever the time. So there's a long time, there's a duration, there's an interval. And these thoughts have formed these cords, right? Whether it's physical communication, verbal communication, just in each other's company. There's cords that have been established over a period of time, and these cords are, in essence, they're thoughts, right? They're electromagnetic energies. That's what thoughts are, electromagnetic energy. So they're thoughts, and they communicate, right? You communicate. That's why if you and somebody been together a long time, you know how they say you can read your partner's mind or you can finish their sentence or whatever. Because you guys communicate, non-verbal communication is called telepathy, right? Mental communication. So here's what you need to know too. This is why this is important. Our thoughts, right, is interesting because this is what happened. No matter how negligible you might think a thought is, how harmless or nebulous or benign you might think a thought may be, thoughts cumulatively, right? Cumulative thoughts become dense. I'll say that again. Cumulative thoughts, no matter how small they may be. You think of the person once throughout you once. I had one thought. You have these little tiny thoughts of the person. You might think they're harmless, but these little tiny thoughts they accumulate. They accumulate, and in accumulating, they form. They take on a form, and this is how the cords are made. You gotta understand how the cords are first established. Thoughts that accumulate, cumulative, and over a period of time, they bond and they form into thoughts. But what we need to understand is that these thoughts, right, no matter how small and how harmless they might be, again, if they accumulate, they begin to stick in you, and again, that's the cord. They stick in you. So these thoughts, they're called some people call them tulpas, or thought forms, and they usually reside around your navel area, right? Your negative energy. Most of your negative energy resides around your navel area, right? Because I told you that's a very prominent port of entry, right? Which is your belly button, and from just like your geographical, just like a shape standpoint, right? Your navel is lower, your heart is higher, your mind, your brain is higher. So just based off shape alone, that's a lower part of your body. So it's naturally going to have lower energy, lower frequencies. So I got to raise it, folks. But anywho, so I know I'm still making you guys wait on how to cut the cords. So here it is. This is how you cut the cords. You got to cut the cords in your mind before you can cut them in the physical realm. I'll say that again. You have to go into your own psyche and you have to be able to cut the cords there. You have to cut every single cord in your psyche, in your mental, in your thinking patterns, in your neurons. Your neurons fire, and every time the hit, what is it called? I think it's called Hebb's law. Hebb's law, Hebbs law, states that neurons that fire together wire together. Cells that fire together wire together. What that means is the patterns that your brain is developing and firing electrical impulses, that pattern that's firing, it's going to wire your reality. The firing of your patterns wires your reality, meaning it shapes it, it builds it. So in order for you to change what's happening out here with the if you're a female and you're attached to a guy, if you're a guy and you're attached to a woman, in order to change what's going on out here, you have to cut the cords in your psyche. How do you do that? I'm gonna tell you. First, the most potent thing you can do, the most powerful thing you can do, I do it. Nothing, no counseling, no therapy, no self-help books. You can read all the self-help books in the world. No, look, I love to work out. That's another thing I do. I like to go exercise. I like to go upstate, climb mountains, run, jog. I do all that. None of that compares. None of that holds a candle compared to this one technique I'm gonna tell you right now. Meditation. Meditation is medication for the soul. The difference between meditation and medication is only one letter. That's how they sound so similar. Meditation, medication. You see what I'm saying? Meditation is the ultimate panacea. It's the ultimate remedy. It's the ultimate medicine for the soul. When you meditate, here's what you got to do to cut the cords. When you're in your meditation, you got to see yourself. You got to visualize yourself with a sword. And that sword in your hand got to have fire on it, right? That sword's got to have, you got to see yourself with a machete, a sword, whatever you choose to see yourself with, whatever weapon you want to use, that's on you. When I see myself, you got to see a sword in your hand. And you got to see the cord, you got to visualize the cords coming out of your body, going to that person. And you got to take those cords and you, in your mind's eye, you got to cut them. You got to just see yourself with a sword, fiery sword, and you cut them. Now, I believe in angels. In the book of Daniel, I think it's chapter 10, Daniel prayed and he fasted and the angel came to him. And the angel said, we would have came sooner, but we was fighting with the devils and we came along. I'm paraphrasing, but don't be afraid. We're here to answer your prayer. Moses was with the bush and the bush spoke to Moses. Gideon had the angel come to him and gave him 3 signs that God was going to use him to liberate to liberate the people of Israel from the Midianites, right? I believe it was the Midianites. So, all through the Bible, men of God of all, Jacob wrestled all night with his angel, said, "I will not let you go until you bless me." So through the Bible, you see men of God always having an interface with angels, right? So I believe in that. So when you meditate, you gotta see your angels with you, and they have swords, and they're all cutting. Or cutting the cords that are sucking your energy out and giving it to whoever the other person is, or is draining you or preventing you from moving on with your life, right? The cords are like spider webs. They got you tied up, impeding and stumping you from moving forward. So that to me, that's my technique, and that's the most powerful technique. But here's the thing: you got to do it in love too. Don't do it with animosity. Don't do it with hate. Don't do it, don't see yourself cutting the person's head off, none of that. No, you got to see it, you doing it, releasing that person. You're releasing them, but you're releasing them with love. You understand? You're wishing them the best. See them in your mind's eye going out the door as you cut the cords. You know what I'm saying? Release them with love. uh, it's important, very important that you do it with love and not with any kind of ill will or any kind of hate, because it's not going to work if you do it with hate. Hate can't drive out hate. You know, I think Jesus said it best in the Bible when he says, you know, Beelzebub can't cast out Beelzebub, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm paraphrasing again. So a devil can't cast out a devil. You know what I'm saying? So you got to do it with love. You got to come from a position of love for yourself and for the other person, because you want them to be all right. You don't want them. You should want them to, hey, go on with your life, be free. You know what I'm saying? Best of luck to you. And so you got to do it with love. And here's one more thing too. Don't think you cut the cord and the cord is gone. That's it. Nah, it doesn't work that way. You got to cut the cord every day, all day, every day. You got to remember, folks, we're not alone in this universe. We are not alone. All the movies that we watch and we think they're sci-fi, no, they're real. All the ghost movies we watch and we think, oh, they're just good. No, they're real. The inspiration came from out of the etheric or the astral and manifested in the physical for us to see. But we've been conditioned to think these things are just entertainment. No, it's real. We're not alone, and the chords are always going to come back. They're going to eventually. You cut them, and again, they'll completely be gone. But you, it didn't put like this. These chords weren't formed in a day. Let's be practical. You know, you probably was with the person or the person was with you for years or months. So it didn't take a day for the chords to be uh, manufactured, designed and established. It's not going to take a day for them to go. You see what I'm saying? And these chords are very much alive, not in the sense like you and I biologically, but they have consciousness. In their realm, they're very much alive. They're entities. In their realm, they're entities. In our realm, they're not alive. But in their realm, they're entities. So they're going to continue to come back because the remember, we're magnetic creatures, all of us. We're magnetic, and magnets attract things to itself. Remember that. The opposite energy attracts it to itself. So there's a magnetism between you and that person. And like I said, once you cut it, you got to remember, you got to cut it in your mind. Cut it in your mind. Don't think staying away from the person, not saying, no, you got to cut it in your psyche. And every time, here's the thing, every time those thoughts come back, you got to see those thoughts as a ghost, because that's exactly what they are, a ghost, right? Trying to put you back on the hook, right? And here's something you got to remember, folks. The more you think about something, right, the more it accumulates. Thoughts actually, when you have a thought about something, thoughts they attract in that realm. Like attracts like. Right? Remember, there's dimensions that we exist in. There's 14 planes of existence. We're on the Earth plane, which is the only solid plane of all 14, and they're superimposed. You got to remember, thoughts attract other thoughts that are like it. So every time you think about that person, that thought is attracting other thoughts to itself. And the more you think about the person, the more that thought attracts other thoughts to itself. And the more that thought attracts thoughts to itself that are like itself, it's called coagulation or congeal, congeal, congeal or coagulation. And those are just fancy words for saying it solidifies. You see what I'm saying? It starts to solidify. So every time you have that thought, you're solidifying that thought. You're condensing that thought. You're giving density to that thought. And the more dense that thought is, it's like what I drew right here. It becomes thickened. It's called gross, a gross etheric cord. So the more you think of the person, even if it's for a second, right? Those little tiny thoughts, they don't go anywhere. Oh no, they're in you. They're in you, hiding, waiting to be activated. It's like a gene. A gene can just be laying there waiting to be activated, or a virus. A virus can be sitting there waiting to be activated. So when you have one or two little thoughts, you're not realizing that, yeah, they're there. You might not see them and you might not feel them, but they're there, wait, and it's just coagulating. It's coagulating and accumulating. Okay, and then it's going to show up in your behavior and control. This is why you see in the news, these dudes be, my boy's a lawyer. He always say to me, man, I don't know why these dudes be killing women, and he killed his wife, killed his kid. I know why. You know what I'm saying? I know exactly why. I know the science. So it's important that we guard ourselves. Just take care of yourself. Take care of yourself spiritually. Take care of yourself mentally, psychologically. Take care of yourself, because ain't nobody gonna love you like you. Ain't nobody gonna do you like you. Until you learn to love yourself anyway, you can't love somebody else. And at the end of the day, this whole thing about life, this whole process is about you accomplishing your mission, finding your purpose, and accomplishing it. It ain't about another person. If that person walks away from you, they're not a part of your destiny. You got a destiny. We all forget this, even myself. I got to remind myself, we all have a destiny. We came into this realm from other realms. We incarnated in physical forms. I believe in that. We incarnated in physical form. My birthday wasn't my birthday. It was my Earth Day. I was never born into this world. I wasn't born into this, into the traditional sense. My birthday, that's just what we say. That's what the label that we give to it. So I'll say it. But I know that what you call my birthday is my Earth Day. I incarnated that day. I already existed way before that. And when I leave this earth, I'm going back. I ain't dying. I'm exiting this physical corpse, because this physical body only weighs you down anyway. Because you're a light body, you're a light being, pure energy. And when you incarnate in mass, the more mass energy has, that's why E equals MC squared. Nothing could travel at the speed of light. Why? Because of mass. The more acceleration an object gets, the more mass it gets. The more mass it gets, it slows it down. So nothing could ever travel at 186,000 miles per second, which is the speed of light. But I'm going into something else. I shouldn't be going to this. Anyway, later, y'all. Peace.